the two online panelists, Massimo Gariba, Acting Director General, Directorate General for Energy at the European Commission. Mr. Gariba, you're here, and Bernard Maganan, Deputy Director General, Joint Research Center. You're all there, right? So, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's so nice to host you. Before we start commenting on the results of the World Café, which has the title "How to Reach Out for the People, Outreach to the Citizens," there's one question I would like to ask you all. You have 2 minutes, and then we'll kick off with the comments. Without a spirit of togetherness, without the feeling that all of us are in the same boat, it will be very difficult to reach all the ambitious goals. The commitments have been made and the path has been paved, but without the spirit of togetherness, it will be quite difficult. Mrs. van der Vlies, how would you say, how should we nurture this spirit of togetherness, the feeling that we are all in the same boat?
Yes, thank you very much. I think this is really, for me, the key word, and I also think that the Slovenian presidency has included this word together as the motto of the presidency altogether, and I think this really represents exactly what we need to do in order to achieve all our climate ambitions for the European Union and beyond. And I do think for me the SET plan is an absolute showcase of how this togetherness could work in practice. Because the SET plan has shown over the years really that cooperating between the member states, European Union, industry, research organizations. So I think their SET plan is basically showcasing the way on how this togetherness to deliver for society can also work in practice. And I think also we have seen in the past 1.5 days very concrete results. And I think the challenges ahead are very clear, but I'm a strong believer that with the SET plan, we can really demonstrate that by working together across the European Union, we can move from research and innovation to also deployment of solutions, and then making sure that our citizens are also involved and have a buy-in in these solutions that we will be then gradually deploying and scaling up on the market. So I am sitting here with a very positive feeling, and I really think that the SET plan is a very important showcase of how this togetherness concretely can work in the European Union.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to ask Mr. Gariba, and I would like to rephrase the question. I know this is a trick, but please let me rephrase the same question. In 1992, I think, Toto Cotugno and a Slovenian band, which is not really a known fact, have won the Eurovision Song Contest with the song Insieme, Unite, Unite Europe. I could sing the song, but I will refrain from this joy. Mr. Gariba, please, how should we reinvent Insieme from 1992?
Good morning to everybody. Thank you for not singing. but I think that the Insieme is to go well beyond the European Union. I mean, it is something that has to bring, let me say, the whole scientific and technological community together. I mean, if we look at the challenges that we have on climate change and the way that we need to tackle them, we are, like I say, a very important avant-garde in this work with our targets that we have in Europe, and also with the concrete plans that we have. But we need to bring together the people that are beyond our borders, the biggest emitters that are outside our continent. So I think that if we need to reinvent all-together concept, we need to start with a strong, part ourselves, and this is what I think we are doing with this conference. But then we need to work to involve the others. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Maganan, please, your word on this nurturing the spirit of togetherness.
Yeah, don't ask me to sing. I
Well,
will not
please
do
do. If
This
you
would
feel
be-
compelled to sing, please do.
No, I, I don't think it would be a good idea. No, I think Insieme together is the purpose of all we do in the European institutions. We are not a standalone institution that works on its own and is just throwing policies to the member state. No, that's not, absolutely not the way we work. We reach out to member states, we reach out to researchers, scientists, communities, we associate people in our reflections. And I think what we heard this morning around the set plan is that having this now long-standing set plan community vibrant and active is a good example of getting together, discussing together, sharing information and trying to move forward. Of course, the new political agenda with the Green Deal, the Fit for 55, the new Recovery and Resilience Facility creates a new momentum where we again need to reach out, again need to discuss, and probably look for a better focus. How can we use our finances at European level to serve at the best member states, cities, citizens? This is the real question that we will have to tackle in the coming weeks and months. And it's it's an opportunity, it's a challenge. So that's part of our DNA, and it's part of the work we do on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, Mr. Koshorok.
Regarding being together in the same boat, you mean? Okay, being in the same boat is something, and completely different is pedaling in the same direction. This is something that we need to do. Pedaling in the same direction. You can be on the same boat, but if somebody is pedaling more to the right or somebody more to the left, it does not go. It goes around. So this is something. And yes, I agree with the intervention before me, with all the colleagues. Now it's the time that we show how together in this boat, or how in the Insieme we truly are, because of the rising prices of the electricity, not only electricity, all the energens and so on. We will see how far we will go in Insieme, of course, because we are on the same boat. 90% of all the fossil fuels comes from, from where? From Russia. Being in the Green Deal does not mean that we are now focusing on green madness, what was discussed. We must focus on the renewables, we must focus on the energy efficiency, and this is something how we can be, first of all, self-sufficient and more, let's say, independent towards different kinds of energy.
Thank you so much. And now I would like to start with the conclusions from the World Café roundtables. And once again, thank you so much, all of you who have contributed to those conclusions. Now, table number 1. The question was, ensuring the transition to zero-carbon energy to be fair for all, how to make it possible. It's quite simple. And here we have 4, let's say, points that the contributors, let's say the conclusions are here. And please, I can read them out. I would like to ask the audience, do you see them all at the back? Can you read, can you read yes or no? No is like this, yes is like this. Okay, thank you very much. So please, just read them out. To yourself, don't read them out loudly. It's quite simple. And then I would like all of you, the speakers, the panelists, I would like to ask you to give a short comment on on the conclusions of the roundtable, of the first roundtable. Can we start? Ms. van der Vlies, can we start?
Yes, I mean, I would like to pick up on 2 points in particular. I mean, the first one is education and communication. I think this is indeed extremely important. It's also something that Commissioner Gabriel highlighted in her introduction in the beginning, in the high-level panel. Another thing is the regulation and the regulatory framework, because I think we are all agreeing that the energy transition needs to be affordable and fair. I also think that it's very important that the regulatory framework is basically supporting that. And this is also one of the takeaways that I have from the panel yesterday that looked more into how the set plan can also support the regulatory framework. I do believe that there also the activities of the set plan in the future can play a very important role because, of course, on the one hand, we need to involve the citizens in the solutions and making sure that we have the buy-in from the citizens through education, through communication. But I also believe that fairness needs to be ensured through the regulatory framework. And there I believe it's very important that also the set plan community provides input to the governments and to the regulators on how to ensure that the energy transition will be fair, inclusive and affordable for all.
Okay, now if we move on to Mr. Gariba, please feel free to comment on anything you would like, but maybe I would like to point out the notion, the need for the governments to be transparent. How would you comment this specific point?
I think that if you want to be people-centric, and the set plan conference has been moving from technology-centric to people-centric, I think that you can only do it if you are fully transparent on what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. But more generally, if I may, let me say that if the transition that we are going to have, and I think Commissioner Simpson has also mentioned this in her opening remarks yesterday, if you want to achieve that, this major transformation, you need to ensure that this is a just transformation, and indeed that the people are at the center of that. And this is why, if I reconnect a moment with the current situation of high energy prices, it is particularly important that we look at the lessons that we have to learn from it all together, and see, how fragile we are at the moment in this transition. Just today, the simple news of a new variant of the COVID has moved the oil prices down to 5.5%. So this is why it is important to take care of the spikes that we are observing and that we may observe throughout this transition, and make sure that everybody affected is properly considered and protected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Maganan?
Yes, on my side, maybe not to, I agree with the colleagues have said, but we could say that on a positive note, we have a momentum where people at political level, companies, businesses, citizens give more and more importance of this transition and on the targets that we have set. So the attention of the public is increasing, which is a good news. It will also stimulate member states, politicians to be more creative and reflect how these goals can be reached. Now, on the difficulty, I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do, but I do believe that the transition will have an impact on the business, how we do business, what will be the new areas for development in business in the business area in Europe, because we will have probably a phasing out and a phasing in. There will be change in education. We need really to have the people on the market for our new competencies that we need for the future. And so it's a nexus of difficulties that we have to set in our reflection at European level, at national level. And again, I'm rather positive because I see a momentum for that.
Okay.
And it is important to have a political momentum where all things are going together. And again, the set plan community that we have is a contributor to that. So that's an important community in Europe.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, the last remark from Mr. Koshorok. And dear Rosalinde and everybody else, please, we will have to speed up a bit. Let's try to keep our remarks as short as possible. Because we have the momentum now. You have 20 seconds from before, but okay.
The first panel.
Okay, so you have now 25.
No, I'm going to combine the first two and bullet 3. We need education, we need communication, we need good government, we need to be transparent, and especially to prepare new projects to be just transition, meaning 2 regions. For example, I will tell you regarding Slovenia, we have 2 regions, very coal affected, and how to compensate the one thermal power plant who should be shut down, how to do it and to be just and be, let's say, fair for all. Will be quite difficult.
Okay, very, very good. Now let's go to the second one, table 2. Oh yeah, this is conclusions from table 2. Some citizens, of course, do not feel at ease. Illiteracy. They're just not comfortable with new solutions and new technologies, especially, there are different sorts of people. Education, simplification of regulation, and social innovation. Those are the points, those are the conclusions from round table 2. And now, in order to be more efficient, I will skip your titles, and Rosalinde, Bernard, Massimo, and Blas. Rosalinde.
I'll be very fast because I think point 3 is something that is fully supported by the Commission. For example, in Horizon Europe, we have really mainstreamed social innovation aspects across the program, so I think this is really very important. I also would like to say that, we are very much in favor of co-creating solutions with citizens, because then you can basically avoid the illiteracy or the unease of the citizens, at a later stage. And I would just like to take 1 second to make publicity for the cities mission, where we will be co-creating with citizens solutions to lead to climate neutral cities in the European Union from the outset. And we have launched a call for expression for interest for cities across the European Union to join this mission. And I know that there are also cities in Slovenia interested to join. And this will be a very good example how we can involve citizens from the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Bernard?
I will be short. Co-creation, yes. Involvement, yes. Simplification, and I would add a 4th one, which is enhanced communication, which is important to reach citizens.
Thank you. Massimo.
I think that people will get involved as soon as it touches them. I make you an example. We are looking at the revision of the directive on the energy performance of buildings. And when there are measures that will come to you and touch you in the pocket, this will be the acid test of all these changes. Thank you.
Okay, and Blas?
Speaking as a lawyer, simplification of the regulation is not always easy. how to bureaucratize the things, it's okay. We should hear the people and make the regulations easy to implement. This is something that how to put new projects into the place, and how to do that, let's say, will be hard. We know how many regulations are coming from the Commission, and implementing that in our national law is not always.
And thank you so much. And please, let's refrain from all lawyer jokes as well, because there are so many.
Which one?
Oh, no lawyer jokes. Conclusions from table 3. We are talking about energy prices, poverty, fair allocation of energy. What should we do? Here are the 4 points from table number 3. We all expect life to become more comfortable. We expect life to be cheaper. But is this going to happen? What do citizens think, and how should decision makers act? Rosalinde.
I think, for example, in areas where we already have technologies, new green technologies available, research and innovation can still help to drive the prices further down. So I see a very important role for research and innovation activities also for the future in order to help drive the prices down. And the second element that I wanted to mention here also is that I also think it's very important that we take into account considerations of circularity. I do believe that if we build a clean energy transition and a circular economy, this will also, in the longer term, help to reduce prices.
Okay, thank you very much. Massimo, then Bernard, and Blaž.
As I said before, we are through an energy crisis. I think that in the short term, we need to have support for the energy poor and for the people who cannot afford the high prices. In the medium term, we need to push even more for 2 things. Energy efficiency, because this is what creates comfort to the people, and accelerate, if anything, the transition so that we remove our dependency from fossil fuel and their price volatility.
Bernard?
Yes, I think we also need we need to leave nobody behind, and that's something that member states, together with the Commission, we have a lot of reflection on how we can maybe short term bridge the gap. Now, long term, Massimo said it all. We also need to reflect a little bit about our value chain and our independence in Europe, because for the moment we are very much still dependent of international big players, and that's an area to consider.
Blaž?
Problem of energy poverty is something that we have to address. It's not short term, I will believe it will be a long term, and then the problem will arise how to do all the energy transition. We have the new toolbox from the Commission on the short term and also on the middle term, but I believe to be successful we have to find a solution for the long term, how to implement all these new technologies, especially if we address the poor one who are, as we know, not so energy efficient, and this is the most important question.
Yes, thank you so much. Moving to conclusions from table number 4. The transition to a carbon neutrality as a business opportunity. We are talking actually about resilience. We are talking about the innovations, all the things that arise from those such new buzzwords, but these are not to be buzzwords in the future. They should become common knowledge and common practice. Do we restrict people? No. How do we embrace all of that? Rosalinde.
Well, I think it's very clear that it also came out in the panel that I was moderating yesterday, that of course the clean energy transition is not only good for the planet, but it should also support European industrial competitiveness. And there, inside the programs that we have in the European Union, for example, in Horizon Europe, we have the European Innovation Council that stimulates in particular the competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises. And I think we heard yesterday also from our industrial leaders that in this green transition, the European Union has an opportunity to really strengthen also the competitiveness in specific sectors. For instance, in the area of hydrogen, Europe is already a technological leader for various areas there. So what we need to do now is just to make sure that by working together, we can strengthen the technological leadership of the European Union in areas and to make sure that this contributes also to growth and jobs in the European Union. For me, these are really two sides of the same coin.
Thank you so much. Massimo?
Well, if you just tell the people that this is a negative transition, indeed it will not work. But I think that the path and the course that we have taken in the EU of being, let me say, ahead of the pack is exactly what is needed to ensure that we give to our industry the first mover advantage. So I think that this will become clearer and clearer when we move ahead in the years, because it will become also, how can I say, more demanding to attain the targets.
Okay, thank you very much. Bernard?
Yes, this morning we addressed the points on startups, which with the good news that we have more and more of these startups blowing around the European Union, which is a good news. We are pushing that strongly in the European Commission. Rosalinda could say more because that's with her. But we also need to help these companies, young companies, to scale up. Because if they are not scaling up, there will be a limit and the competitiveness will be lost.
Okay, thank you. Blaž?
Yes, the most important is how to communicate the carbon neutrality, because it is a must, it is opportunity, but at the end of the day, it will cost us. And go to the table 3, we talked about the poverty, energy poverty, is something that we must clearly communicate to all the people that are involved.
Thank you so much. Moving to table number 5, how to ensure clean energy mobility for all. You know, this is $1 million question. It's $1 billion question. Rosalinde?
Thank you for handing me $1 billion. I mean, of course, we need a lot of money indeed in order to make the clean energy mobility a possibility for all. How to ensure clean energy mobility for all? I think we need to make sure that there are different solutions available on the market. And I think, through the research and innovation activities that we have been doing through many years, both at EU and national level, we have new solutions, but now we need to make sure that these solutions will become available at scale for all the citizens. So there I would like to make the link to what we also discussed yesterday, and that's the importance of synergetic activities between research and innovation activities on the one hand, and then moving forward by using synergies of other deployment programs to make sure that we have enough funds available, enough investments available to push the clean energy mobility solutions to the market so that our citizens can start using them. And I do believe that citizens are very, very interested to travel around more clean and more green, but we need to make sure that now these solutions will be there for the citizens to use.
Massimo?
I think that we are again at a cliff edge. Where if you look at the automotive industry, they are now starting to invest massively in mobility, but we have a number of other components which are absolutely needed in terms of infrastructure, recharging, hydrogen, but also there is the strong link with digitalization. And for recharging, we have the needs also of smart grids. So it is an ecosystem where innovation is really at the center of it.
Thank you. Bernard?
Yeah, I would like to talk about cities. Most of the people live in cities and commute in cities. In the European Commission, we have launched a mission on cities, where we are addressing not only the building side, but also how the way the people are commuting. And I think this is a nice initiative that could deliver some good results in the spirit of how do we better live our lives in cities and commute in cities.
Very good, Blaž.
We have to change our commuting habits to go to clean energy mobility. And also what Massimo mentioned is the infrastructure. The distribution system, the transmission system must be quite well equipped for that.
Very
Not
good.
forget it.
Speaking about that, riding the bike in your hometown, Blaž, in rain.
Quite nice.
Quite nice. So that's
There is no bad weather, you know. It's only bad equipment.
okay. And finally, the last table. This is a lot of text, a lot of conclusions, but the point is how to tackle not in my backyard syndrome. Yes, we can have that, but not here in my backyard. And this is a question we are all facing. And some of us here have great experience regarding this question. Rosalinde.
I think, as I said before, I do think that we have a momentum. We have a really strong commitment from our citizens to move to a climate neutral European Union and beyond. I think the not in my backyard issues, of course, there is a carrot and a stick. For example, in my home country, there are farmers who are being compensated if they give up part of their land to put, for instance, a windmill in the land. So I do think that, and then of course, suddenly the farmers are very happy to participate and giving up part of their land for green solutions. So I think this is all about carrots and sticks and also to sweeten a maybe sometimes bitter pill.
Carrots and sticks, and to sweeten the bitter pills. This is so poetic. Thank you so much. Massimo.
Well, I will be much less poetic. I think that if you want to bring the people along, they will need to see the benefit of what is done. So I think that there again, you know, the role of infrastructure, not only having things in your backyard, but the idea of having distributed energy generation and so on, having communities that can produce energy together, I think that all these will need to enter into application to become virtuous.
Thank you so much. Bernard?
Yeah, there are many things that people don't want to see in their backyard. Just take the antennas for mobile devices. At one moment it was blowing up. I think it's relates to, I agree with Massimo, it's a kind of what do I get out from that and how secure is the proposal, because very often people say, I don't want something because there are security risks. So it's about security, it's about explaining, basically about communication.
Communication is very important. Blaž?
It is. Something else. There are no politicians today here. Huh? There is another, not in my election year.
Not in my election year.
If we are, for example, waste incineration plant, we are all facing problems with the waste. And everybody is for the waste incineration plant. It can be a cogeneration or not, of course, but not in my election year.
Not in my election year. Next year, we in Slovenia will have 5 elections, I think.
Actually 3.
I think 5. I don't know. Never mind. 3 or 5, no big difference. Okay. Thank you for your contribution regarding the World Café. Now, we have 1 minute or 2 minutes for each of you. Just present your conclusions. You were at the conference, you saw everything, you got the mood, and you have the feeling. And maybe Rosalinde will start with you. I know I have so many surprise questions, but this is fun, you know.
I tried to keep a poker face here, but okay, never mind. Conclusions, Peter, of course. Let me make 5 conclusions from the set plan conference. I mean, first of all, this was the first set plan conference that I attended, and I've been deeply impressed with the achievements of the set plan community. I really think that the set plan community is a showcase, as I said before, for how cooperation and togetherness should work in the European Union. I've also been very impressed with the snapshot results from the working groups that were also shown yesterday. And I think what came out of the panel discussions were a few very clear messages. The first clear message from the high-level panel is the focus on a more people-centric set plan. And it also came out, of course, in all the discussions that took place in the World Café now. So we need to involve citizens more, focus more on social innovation, making sure that citizens are on board and are understanding why all this is very important and making it also affordable. The second conclusion for me would be linked to the comment that Blaž made on the fact that we need to pedal all in the same direction. For me, this is linked to the fact that we need to focus, basically focus the strategic orientations of the set plan activities, align it to the European Green Deal, the specific political targets that we have set ourselves, and to make sure that we are really very focused. We could basically also adopt a mission-oriented approach like we are doing, for instance, in Horizon Europe, working also more across sectors, embedding also the smart dimension that came out yesterday as well, the digitization. So that would be my second conclusion. Then the third one is linked to the regulatory framework. We also heard yesterday how important it is to have a regulatory framework in place that is supporting innovations, that will be pushing also the demand for new technologies. And I believe the set plan can also play an important role there. The fourth one is linked to the competitiveness. I think we are all in agreement that we need to make sure that while we are going through this transition in the European Union, at the same time we also need to reduce the strategic dependencies we have in the European Union and to strengthen the competitiveness of the European industries. So I think that would be more. Oh no, of course, then there are still three important points I would like to make if you start to sweat a bit, Peter. I know I'm talking too long. I'm very fast, very quickly, three additional points. First point on synergies. So making sure that we move from research and innovation to deployment and scaling up, having solutions available on the market for our citizens. Second, political visibility. The set plan deserves more political visibility, and here we can build also on the new government structures of the European research area. And the last one, you can relax, education and communication. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you so much. Massimo.
Finding the unmute. So let me not repeat any of the things that Rosalind said. Let me say that I think it's very clear we are sharing a common objective, creating a cleaner, safer, and more secure and competitive energy system. And each of the world weighs a lot. We have steel spanners in this system. Look at the COP26 and its conclusions. We need to transform objectives into actions, and as I said before, we need to do it globally. We are ready to support the set plan community in stepping up effort to ensure that the work of the implementation working groups contributes to the new energy policy. And we have specific area, renovation wave, energy system integration, increasing the renewable share, offshore production, which are all in there. So the set plan has shown its merits, but it is clear from this conference that we need to move faster. And so I think that in 1 year time, we need to come back and enhance still how we do. So let's have a set of concrete proposals to move on at the next conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Bernard.
Yes, Peter, maybe we should also thank the organization of the conference, but maybe you do that at a later stage. I would like to say that the conference was very rich because it was addressing different elements of how do we get there and how can we use better the set plan to help us to get there. And I was really pleased to see that there was an assessment of the different elements, the different components of our goals of 2050. We talked about cities, you talked about just now mobility in the cities, but not only. We talked about energy poverty, and that's something we really have to follow up as well. And I think that it was, the nice thing is that we had a kind of people-centric approach very often in this conference, which I like very much. On our side, at the level of the GRC, what we want to do is to continue working with the communities to enrich the communities with knowledge, data, using everything we can to be able to contribute. We have these progress reports that we issue every year that bring to a certain extent a milestone into the discussion. At the level of the Commission, there is a strong support from everybody, including the President. I would just like to quote the President in the State of the Union speech this year as a conclusion. And she said, we have the knowledge, but it is disjoint. We have the information, but it is fragmented. And if we get in our community more consistency, more collective awareness, more exchanging of information, I'm pretty sure that the next conference we will have very interesting, exciting, vibrant topics to be discussed. Back to you, thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Blaž, the final word is yours.
Thank you so much. I believe that this year's 15th SET Plan conference is special. It's a little different. And because it's the first conference after the announcement of more ambitious climate and energy legislation goals that we speak, and at the same time, we have been unprecedented in circumstances we spoke about earlier, high energy prices, driven mainly by our high import dependency on the fossil fuels. While it was only a day and a half that it have been in Bled, the conference addressed numerous topics. Management of the decentralized energy production, smart grids, renewable energy integration, new regulation, a sustainable and inclusive society, decarbonization of the industry, how to meet people's needs with the same plant technologies, what role will SET Plan play in the future. And during the discussions, we have noted a large agreement among the participants on how crucial it is to ensure increased investment in research and innovation. The conference, of course, confirmed the new technologies such as artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, cloud technologies, machine learning, smart grids, smart homes that are essential for the transition to the carbon-free community or society. The new ambitious climate goals require us to tremendously accelerate the development and the use of clean energy. Technologies for the economic use of hydrogen, synthetic fuels, and other technologies will allow decarbonization in all sectors. So to conclude, the main conclusions of this year's conference, as I see it, are the following. First, energy technology should be a priority for common energy policy. Second, energy for sustainable and inclusive society needs more targeted education and skills. Third, the role of SET Plan is crucial to support energy transition. And fourth, SET Plan is helping to create a win-win situation for all EU inhabitants. So by putting people first when reaching the ambitious energy transitions, will create a resilient energy union and healthy planet. As a host, I can use some more time and thank my team from the ministry for organizing, and of course Academia Finance and you, Peter, for organizing this event in very, very difficult times. Thank you. And
thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure. Thank you all. But now, Rosalinde has another announcement. You would like to announce the final address, correct?
I'll do whatever you want me to do, Peter. You are here, the master.
Well, Jean-Éric Paquet has the final video address. And the video address from Jean-Éric Paquet as the closing remark. Please, colleagues in the backstage.
Delighted to join you as we are closing this 15th annual SET Plan conference, 15 years already. The set plan has been out there now for 15 years with, I think, a lot of impact as a platform to allow national research and innovation actors to work together, including, of course, with a number of EU instruments, a platform for public research to be better aligned in Europe, but also interact with private research efforts, and a set plan which I think increasingly and visibly provides as an outcome solutions to drive Europe's green transformation, therefore well aligned also with the Green Deal. I must say I would like to thank particularly, of course, our Slovenian partners, the Slovenian presidency, for holding the conference with the Commission. Thank all of you from member states, associated countries, experts to have contributed to this successful conference, and obviously particularly my colleagues in DG Energy, the Joint Research Centre, and beyond in the Commission, of course, in DG Research and Innovation. The conference, I think, was this year particularly important. It took place just in the wake of the Glasgow COP26 outcome, where I think, of course, there has been certainly many developments, but I think what COP26 strongly put forward, and on the basis, of course, of the IPCC report, is that we need more impact, more action. We need to accelerate our transition, our energy transition, of course, centrally, because we are now moving away from the possibility of staying with the 1.5 degree objective of the Paris Agreement. And that is not a conventional issue. It's an issue where science tells us that moving beyond 1.5 is going to have a very, very massive impacts. And I don't want even to contemplate a scenario where we would overshoot the 2%. That means that we need concrete outcomes, of course, by 2050, but much earlier than that. And this is, I think, where the discussions during the set plan conference also went, and a lot of discussion on how we can best ensure that our research and innovation work really leads to tangible deployment efforts across our societies and across our economies in Europe. You have discussed quite intensely also the future revamp of the set plan. I very much welcome that against these renewed urgencies. And I think the work done on the discussions and the work done on better connecting research outcomes with deployment, the first discussions on a human-centric energy transition, absolutely key. The discussion on ensuring that energy systems are sustainable by design, and many other topics which you touched upon will now feed, I think, directly into the revamp of the set plan. It needs to be obviously a process which is an inclusive process, a process which we need to co-create. You kicked it off now during this annual event. And over the next 12 months, teams across the Commission, in member states, experts will continue to work closely together so that when we revamp, update the set plan, it will remain, as was the case in 2007, the reference for many other strategic research and innovation agendas. And in this case, I'm very, very, very sure that it will be a reference in finding the right balance between the research which will get us to 2050, but also the research which can be deployed immediately to make headway and improvements in 2030 so that we can continue to mitigate in line with the IPCC recommendations. So colleagues, thanks again for your work during this year's event. I'm very much looking forward, and my teams as well, to work with all of you on this revamp. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the video address, sir. He doesn't see me because it was filmed. Nevertheless, Massimo, Bernard, Rosalinde, Blas, you were great. Thank you for your effort. I hope I wasn't bugging you. Huh? Everything's fine? Okay. Dear ladies and gentlemen, be it online, be it on site, you are a great audience. I thank you so much.